Hello and welcome to my 20,000 subscriber Q&A video. I just wanted to say right off the bat, thank you for everyone who's subscribed to the channel recently. Over the last half a year, we've grown from 7k subs to just over 20 now. Hopefully, by the end of the year, we should be at 30 pretty easily. I've got way more videos planned coming out over the foreseeable future, and hopefully in the next week, there's going to be a video coming out that I believe that you guys will probably really enjoy based off of the overall opinions on the open worlds video. It's not about open worlds, but it's about a different area within games. So yeah, make sure to stay tuned for that one. Anyway, to jump right into any form of question, I'm doing this in order of basically where I got them from. We've got 8 here to just go over, 8 people anyway, and then a few more questions in some other people's posts. So the first one is from The Hidden One, which, by the way, he makes YouTube content around Assassin's Creed, if you couldn't tell. Generally speaking, really good videos. So if you are interested to go support a smaller creator, make sure to go check him out. And what he has put down is, congrats on pursuing your goals. My question is, would you still be doing YouTube full-time if you only had this channel and not your other ones too? So to that question is, yes, I would still be doing this full-time in the sense of I would not be working at my other job. I would have just been solely focusing on this. The key difference, I think, would be that if I wasn't doing other things like the self-improvement channel, the tech channel, Excel commentates, and just a couple other things as well, then it would be the case that I'd have more time to just kind of, one, dedicate to this channel, which I already have enough time for this channel, but it's just the case of the videos, and because of the length of them, the script process, everything like that, it just takes me longer to get through without burning myself out. But yeah, I'd pretty much just be doing more things there in line with personal life, so I'd probably be focusing way more on my physical health and just actually having some form of a life outside of YouTube side of things a bit more than what I am now. I'm right now in the stage of trying to implement having more of a life and actually doing more things. If you want to learn more about that, I am going to be talking about that a bit more over on my Adam Frost channel. All of this will be down in the links down below as well. Next up is a question from Random NPC, which they have asked, what is your favorite Assassin's Creed besides Assassin's Creed 2? Probably either Unity or Origins, if I'm honest. I really love 3, mainly for Haytham, but also the fact that I would also say that it talks about the topic of kind of the actual differences between the ethos of the Templars and Assassins. So I'd definitely say 3 is up there. However, in terms of just overall fun to play, I would probably say Assassin's Creed Unity and Origins. I really enjoy Origins primarily for one reason, and that is because it's the origin story of the Creed, and it's basically just the open world experience that kind of people wanted in terms of a blend of Assassin's Creed and that. But I'd definitely say Unity is up there. It's probably the one that I've played the most over and over again outside of the Ezio collection, primarily because the game is replayable enough, but also it's just the refined version of what Assassin's Creed or old gen Assassin's Creed was. So yeah, I'd definitely say Unity is probably up there as either number 2 or number 3, and Origins again is either in number 2 or number 3, but the actual third game is pretty close as well. Then next up we have a question from Kiwi VI. I believe that you're in my Discord, I think. I'll double check that, but I believe you are, and I've seen comments from you in the past. The first question is, how am I doing? Generally speaking, not too bad. Came back from holiday about 2 weeks ago, and then yeah, got another one coming up in like over a month's time, and yeah, got a few more going over. So yeah, generally speaking, in normal life, going decently well. I'm doing what I want to be doing for the most part. I'm pursuing YouTube. I'm trying to improve my financial situation. I'm trying to improve myself physically, mentally, all these things. So right now, I'm generally okay. I wouldn't say I'm like up there as like feeling the best I could possibly feel, but I'd definitely not say that I'm feeling as bad as I have done in the past. So yeah, all round, not too bad. The next one is, what's your favorite video that you've worked on? Now, I'd probably say, and what I've got down on here as like an idea is, I'd probably say my favorite video that I've ever made is probably either my men's improvement creates perfectionism and how that is monetized off of, which is on my Adam Frost channel, went up very recently, primarily because it's something that I've dealt with myself, and parts of that video are a lot more personal in terms of like my personal experience, and I thought that the video just came together decently well. The other one that I'd probably say is, in terms of like my favorite video that I've made recently as well, it would probably be my the fall of Ubisoft, how 1 year ruined their company. I believe the title is something like that. But yeah, that video as well was kind of like the first stage of trying to really work on my editing a little bit more to make sure it kind of works a bit more, is a bit more cohesive with the audio and everything like that. So yeah, definitely one of those two would be up there as my favorite videos that I've ever made. Outside of that, I think my Red Dead 2 video is definitely, again, it's a big one, but again, I would say it was really good fun to get out there, make, and so on. But it's a lot of time dedication for something that, especially at the time, like a lot of people will feel a level of just kind of like, you know, they'll feel down about the fact that the video didn't perform very well for a very long time. And then the last question that Kiwi had was, what game release are you looking most forward to out of any? So I'd probably say Starfield is my most look forward to out of all of them, primarily because I want Elder Scrolls 6 to be great. So hopefully if Starfield is in a decent state, that gives us an idea into kind of what Elder Scrolls 6 will kind of be like in terms of its gameplay and its just functionality off launch. So hopefully it's not a completely broken mess. But yeah, outside of that, I'd definitely say I'm also just excited for Starfield because originally I wasn't necessarily too interested, but eventually after seeing more gameplay, seeing them talk about the game a lot more, and just seeing other people talk about it as well, I'm definitely a lot more hyped up for this game than I thought I was initially going to be. So yeah, I'm looking forward for that release. Outside of that, the only two games that I necessarily care about for the rest of the year is going to be Spider-Man 2, which I'm hoping to get done as well in terms of playing through, making a video about it in December. And then as well as that, Assassin's Creed Mirage, purely because if it is what they're saying it is, if it is hopefully anywhere near what it's claiming to be, then it will be a decent game. So I'm hoping and looking forward to the idea that we could get a game that is similar to old school Assassin's Creed, just with a new lick of paint in a way. Then next up we have a few questions from Sync, the first one of which is, how did you start YouTube? I'm assuming it just says, how did you start? In regards to this channel, it was literally just the case of I was thinking about it and I was at a point where I hadn't played games for a very long time, and pretty much I was watching YouTube videos about games, but I wasn't necessarily playing them. And I was kind of getting done with them, if I'm honest, primarily because I spoke about it in the video talking about perfectionism. I've got a very perfectionist mind in the sense of I need to be doing everything that I believe is productive at any single moment, or at least that's how I was for a very, very long time. And I'd say I'm a little bit better at it now. However, this channel allowed me to play games in a way that allowed me to just kind of override that entire system. So let's say I wanted to play any game. So the first video I believe was Skyrim, then Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then lastly was Last of Us in terms of like the first three videos. And that was because Valhalla was a more recent memory of just disdain for it. Skyrim because I recently decided I'd play through it because I wanted to make a video about it. And then Last of Us because again I'd recently played it, made a video out of it. So it was the case of having a reason to play the game at least allowed me to override it in a sense that gave me a justification for playing. So yeah, that's kind of how I started with it, with inspiration from people like Luke Stevens when it comes to like creating more long-form video and just video essays in general. I wouldn't necessarily say now that I would classify my videos as the same, purely because his is very critique, very like nitty gritty in terms of delving deep into the whole idea of what makes a game work, whereas mine will be typically talking about things in probably a more positive light than a lot of others, purely because I like to look at a lot of these games more optimistically now than I would do like trying to rip into them, as I think a lot of the internet rips into everything anyway. So what is me adding on to that dog pile going to do? I'd rather talk about a lot of the positives, talk about some of the negatives, but not absolutely rip into every little thing that most people aren't going to care about. In terms of how did I start generally, yeah, I started creating videos since I was like 9, made videos and created channels, deleted videos, unlisted videos, and so on, just kind of that over and over again. So yeah, that's kind of how it started in terms of YouTube. Then the next question is, what is your main goal? I don't know if you mean main goal with the channel or main goal in life. I'm going to go with that you're talking about what is my main goal with the channel, which I'd probably say is to be able to upload roughly whenever I want, purely based off of the creation process, so not feeling as if I need to release a video every single month or 2 every single month and be pushing myself to get the videos done in a certain time frame. That's a goal 1. Basically not having to worry too much about the idea of, oh, well, my channel might like slow down and so on. The other one is that I would like to take a step back eventually, purely because gaming isn't the biggest factor in my life. It's probably not even in the top 5 anyway, in terms of like main cares overall, purely because for me, I'm trying to focus on just building myself up in other areas. I'm more interested in building up things like my self-improvement channel and my tech channel, because the tech side of things, I'm very interested in that, and I want to put more effort into that channel. But also the self-improvement side of things, I've been a massive self-improvement junkie for like probably the last 5-6 years. And yeah, overall, I can't necessarily say that I have more passion in any way towards games than I do self-improvement. I'd say that's where a lot of my passion would go towards. So yeah, I'd definitely say my eventual goal with the channel would be able to take a little bit of a step back so that I'm making videos because I truly love the idea of the video that I'm making. And that's kind of similar to the video that I'm releasing hopefully next week, is that video will be a video of, I actually really love the video. Like, that's the goal overall. It's a topic that I was interested to see if I could tackle, and based off of the first half of the script, I believe I am, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I would genuinely say that this script is so far the best script I've made of any video. So yeah, definitely something that I'm hoping to do more of, where I'm just making videos about necessarily specific things that I want to talk about more than anything, and not feeling as if I'm needing to like really focus on how do I make sure that, you know, I'm going to appease some people and so on. I know that may sound weird, but yeah, you have to do it every now and again, but yeah. Now, the next part of his question is, I'm working a full-time job, but I love to stream on YouTube. Not too much on Twitch because of the terribly low bitrate limitation. YouTube can at least do 1440p at 60 at 50 megabytes, which is good. How about your income? Does it depend on your views, number of subscribers? Is your revenue from YouTube better than your previous job? In regards to this, so first of all, I'd definitely say, yeah, just focus on trying to build. I'd say personally, YouTube is a better platform to build on. But I'd heavily recommend that if you are not doing already, is if you're going to build a streaming in any way, based off of what I've seen across the board, you are better off creating YouTube content, creating TikTok content that is linked to the stream to get people and effectively funnel them in. So stream for a certain amount of time, take clips from that stream, post them as YouTube videos, or make actual YouTube videos on top of that if you can, like every other week or every 3 weeks, and then post TikToks like daily or every other day to shorts as well. Pretty much try and funnel people towards your channel, because that's the fastest way, or at least the best way, to grow a stream. Whereas a lot of people will sit there, stream with one viewer every single day for a extremely long period of time and never see any growth. I wouldn't recommend that because it is going to be soul destroying eventually. But yeah, in terms of income, I currently, anyway, make more than my previous job for 2 main reasons. One is that for about the last year of the job, I literally was doing like 20 to 30 hours a week. I wasn't working full time because I was basically slowly cutting my hours back more and more to then put more time into doing the YouTube side of things. But also, one thing I would state as well is that the income is all over the place, and I've spoken about it on another podcast anyway, talking about money, and I'm not exactly hiding away from it. So yeah, pretty much when it comes to financial side of things from YouTube, the first, from September to January, which was before I quit my job, I had made £2,700, and that was pretty much all from my Is Gaming Dying video. Since then, since quitting my job, I've made just over £11,000. So yeah, considerably more than like the probably like 900 to maybe £1,000 every single month that I was making at my previous job. Last month, for example, was a record high for the channel when it comes to just finances. I earned £3,000 throughout June. So yeah, again, it's the case that your views are what determines it. Just take that into perspective. However, it isn't the view number, it is the watch time number. That is what correlates the most. So a lot of channels may be like, oh, well, my views were high today, how come I earned less? It is because your watch time probably dipped. Like, you got a lot of impressions, but you didn't get a lot of watch time. So that's where your money comes in more than anything, is your watch time. So the first funnel is the view, but if they're not watching for a long time, that's not going to correlate to tons and tons of money. And just to mention that subscriber bit, literally subscribers is effectively a vanity metric, outside of the factor that it gives you a baseline view count. However, again, it doesn't necessarily matter, purely because most people, if they don't click on, let's say, 3 or 4 of your most recent uploads, they probably won't ever be recommended your channel ever again in their homepage unless you go after it and sort after it instead. So yeah, it is the case that you have to be careful with the content you upload. It's why I made the other channels, for example, is that I wanted to have all parts of my personalities on different channels, and then that way they can cultivate their own audiences as they see fit, instead of having this channel bombarded with other content that other people might not be interested in. Then the next question is from a guy called Monty Zander. He's a smaller creator. He makes really good long form video essays as well. Highly recommend checking out his content. He's asked, aside from games, what are your hobbies? Movies, comics, fishing, whatever. So to first state, I'd say movies recently I've been getting a bit more into in terms of like wanting to go to the cinema. This year so far, I've probably watched more films this year in the cinema than I did over the last 2 years prior. Obviously, things like COVID had an issue with that. However, like last year, for example, I watched, I think, maybe 2 films in the cinema. I'm not even 100% sure what films. I think it was probably The Batman, I think, that came out last year, and then maybe a Marvel film, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this year so far I've watched Puss in Boots, John Wick 4, Mario, Guardians of the Galaxy, just saw Oppenheimer yesterday, and then we're seeing Barbie on Wednesday. But yeah, then after that it'll be the case of just seeing whatever else comes out. Pretty much trying to actually go out more, trying to see more films. So that is one that's kind of in there now. I'm also trying to more or less just find other films to watch and maybe look at watching them in free time and so on. Outside of that, so comics, not really. I've dabbled in the idea of it when I was younger, but to be honest, one, dyslexia mixed with the fact that my attention span just isn't all there for it. Can't be asked, I'll be honest. So yeah, I'd probably say in terms of the other hobbies, it is photography is probably the bigger one out of all of them. So yeah, recently I got a new camera, talked about it on the tech channel, which is what I'm recording with right now. And yeah, been loving using it, got some new lenses for it, and just kind of delving back into doing photography more, and just doing it for the sake of capturing moments and trying to get cool shots, but not solely focusing on the idea of just getting cool shots. Outside of that, chess. I've been enjoying just learning chess, trying to get better at it. I'm not great at it. I am terrible. However, yeah, it's been good just trying to get into it, trying to learn. It's a bit of fun to just do on the side. Then reading. It's something that I don't do all the time anymore, but I want to do more often, purely because, one, it helps me sleep. But secondly, I think that there's a lot of probably insight from reading that I could gain. I've read a few books anyway. So for example, I'm trying to reread right now Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I'm reading through Meditations and I'm taking notes on it, trying to basically do my interpretations of it. .com Secrets as well is another one that I'm just reading through as I see fit. And then outside of that, I recently started reading The Hobbit, as I've watched all the films. Personally, I love the films. I know that some people dislike them, but I really enjoy them. And then on top of that, reading through the second Game of Thrones books. I finished the first one ages ago, and pretty much it's the case of that I'm just slowly getting through things. I'm not necessarily trying to read things fast or trying to get through them. It's just the case of when I feel like reading, I'm reading. And I kind of want to implement kind of forcing myself to read a bit more often to try and enable that as more of a habit. So for example, I forced myself to journal a bit more often, and I pretty much journal every single day now, if not every single day. The only time I took an extensive period of time off of journaling was when we were on holiday. So that's it. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't necessarily say there's much else, depending on if you class going to the gym and kickboxing as hobbies. I'd probably say kickboxing is a hobby right now, because I'm not consistently going all the time, purely because it's just a case of it's in the evening, I'm either really tired or I'm trying to get other stuff done. So yeah, I'm trying to get more into doing kickboxing, and then on top of that, the gym, I try to go about 4 times a week. Normally it's about 3 times, hopefully 4 times if I can get it going. But yeah, it's just a case of I wouldn't necessarily count those two as hobbies. I'd count them more as just activities and instilling habits more than anything. Then next up is a question from Sports Gaming World, where they've asked, what is your favorite game of all time? Which I'd probably say, so my favorite game of all time is Skyrim. I think that's blatantly obvious. If you watch my channel's content, you'll know that I love Skyrim a lot. And then In terms of like what I think is objectively the best game ever made, I do think it's Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't think that there is a game that comes close to it in terms of a storytelling perspective, attention to detail. The open world itself is great. It's not like the best open world, however, the game is more than just its open world. And just everything about the game is either a 9 out of 10 or it is a 10 out of 10 in most areas. It's very hard to find genuine flaws that can turn people off outside of the fact that the opening is slow. And anyone who complains about the opening being slow, it is just the case of you don't like dialogue heavy things. So for example, I talk about this in my Oppenheimer video, which is if you don't like Oppenheimer, most likely a lot of people's complaints towards the film and that I've seen already is levied more towards the fact that it is a dialogue heavy film. So if you just aren't a massive fan of dialogue being done a lot, then you're probably not going to like Red Dead 2, you're not going to like Oppenheimer, you're not going to like other games out there that are dialogue heavy, or films out there that are extremely heavy on their dialogue. But yeah, outside of that, favourite game of all time has to be Skyrim for me. I love Assassin's Creed 2, however, yeah, to be honest, well, maybe Minecraft. Minecraft could be in there. It was a game that I played for an absurd amount of time. I've probably played more Minecraft than any other game. Maybe GTA RP, but again, I'd probably say my favourite game of all time has to be Skyrim. Next up is a question from Andrew Lynch. The question is, what's a game that's seen as a GOAT of gaming that you respect but particularly like? For me, I'm assuming that's Resident Evil Remake. I'm assuming the question is, what do I basically think is an understandable thing to say is like one of the greatest games, but personally I don't like. Maybe it's cut off a little bit on the end. But yeah, it's either the case of that I'm about to answer a question that's going to get me hate in the comments or not. But yeah, I would say for me, the two different options are either Elden Ring. Personally, I don't hate the game. I just think that the extreme amount of love that the game got, like when you consider that someone like Luke Stevens, who makes genuinely borderline objective critiques, he waited months, that he had the video ready and he did not release it when it first launched because he knew that when he released it, there was just too many people with rose-tinted glasses on about the game that were not willing to hear any form of criticism about it. So yeah, I do think that the game is objectively very good. I think that the game is a good game. However, personally, it's not for me. I don't like games necessarily choosing to be like hard purely for the sake of being hard. I understand that people will say, well, that's the Souls experience, but again, I'm just not a big fan of Souls games. So that's why I'm saying that I can understand that if you're a Souls fan, Elden Ring's probably up there as a very good game for you. It could be classed as one of your favorite games ever made if you love open worlds as well and you love Souls games. But for me, it just isn't. The other one that I know some people disagree with me on is the Horizon series. The only justification I can have for people loving that is if you like the just overall world itself. If you love the idea of this post-apocalyptic sci-fi world. If you love that, I can completely understand why you love Horizon games, but they are nothing more than Assassin's Creed with a coating of skin with something else. They might have a little bit of extra depth to the story, a little bit. But when I played through the first game when I was younger, I was so bored. And the game is borderline, like when you consider the combat system of that first game, and I would say the parkour of the first game, two things that weren't necessarily 100% similar to something like Assassin's Creed 3, but were very close, especially the parkour. Yeah, Assassin's Creed 3 got ripped in for its parkour usage. So it's just the case of that, personally, I don't think the Horizon games are necessarily that spectacular as some people like to claim they are. But yeah, that's just me. And then the last question that we have, which is from Garagudiz, I believe that's how you pronounce it, but you let me know, is what is your comfort game? Which I kind of already spoke about in my Skyrim video, but Skyrim and Assassin's Creed 2 are probably my comfort games in terms of like, they're the games that I would replay the most. They're the games that if I was just kind of like, I don't feel great, but I'm not in the mood to do other things, maybe I'll jump on Assassin's Creed and just play through Assassin's Creed 2 or play through Skyrim. Those are probably the games that I classify as comfort games. However, recently, I haven't necessarily been jumping into games through the lens of needing comfort or needing to feel at home in something, recently at all. So yeah, it's just the case of, for me right now, I would say that I don't necessarily have comfort games, purely because I've had no need to jump into them. But in the past, when I have, it's always been Skyrim or Assassin's Creed 2. More often than not, it has been Skyrim. I've replayed the game plenty of times. It never gets old for me, so I just love playing it. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to all of the questions. If you do have any more, make sure to ask me down below in the comments of this video. But also, when I next time do a post about it on the community tab, make sure to do so. Probably won't do another one for either until 30k and or 40 or 50. Don't necessarily know yet. Could do one every 10, and then eventually work up to that 100k eventually. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of just doing these sorts of videos. I'm considering doing them more often when it comes to just the subscriber milestones, but none other than that. But yeah, with that all being said, hopefully you found this video enjoyable in some regards, or that I answered some questions that you were interested in. But yeah, hopefully next big video should be next week. I'm hoping it is. I've got the script like halfway. So all I need to do is dedicate some more time to it, get the recording done, start the editing process. So pretty much do the whole video. But yeah, hopefully I'll have that done pretty soon, and they will be in front of your faces to watch in the next week or so. So with that all being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.